Hello, Canucks fans, and welcome back to another episode of Canucks Conversation, which is brought to you by our friends over at Greta, a great spot for all games, home and away. Harmon, you can still watch Ratu play games over at Greta. We'll be there for all the Canucks Army viewing parties throughout the season, and details on that are coming soon. Just minutes away from the arena. Come by before and after the game or whatever event you're downtown for with weekly drink specials. Greta Bar YVR is the place to be, 50 West Cordova Street. Let the games begin. I tell you, that basketball game at Greta, that's my I want to call it my sport because I'm, not the best basketball player, but that basketball arcade game, that's my game. That's my game.
Yeah, we still need to 1v1. You got the best of me.
I was just about to say, I'm pretty sure we already
the
have.
Arcade machine. But no, come on, real life basketball.
No, not real life basketball.
But in real life basketball, I'd crush you.
Well, that's not a topic of conversation.
I'm just saying though.
I'm
gonna boast
shooter.
about.
I'm a deep shooter. Can we fit a basketball hoop in here? Maybe. Fisher Price.
Maybe we'll have to bet on it at some point.
Okay. See if we can get odds on that. Lots to talk about on today's episode. How's the weekend?
It's good. Yeah, it's been busy.
It has been busy. It has been really busy. The preseason is too long. And I think that's going to be a common theme of today's episode as we argue about preseason lineups. The title of today's show, The Great Preseason Lineup Debate. We're going to talk about preseason lineups, but it almost feels already like a moot point because the Canucks practiced today. And you and I both came in here. We were doing our little show prep. And we both said, we're like, can we just not talk about the games? Like, we have two games to talk about. Did you realize that? We got two games to talk about. We got to talk about the Flames game, and we have to talk about the Oilers game.
Technically, don't we have three because the game on Friday too?
Do you want to just skip Friday? Can we make an executive? Do you have any takeaways from Friday? Because I think there's one from Saturday and a few from Sunday.
Go for it, yeah.
Okay. Wait, was it Monday? Yeah, it was Monday. Okay. The first thing from Friday's game, I got nothing. Do you have anything from Friday?
No.
Excellent. Saturday, that's the game that Ratu made this team, in my view.
He was brilliant, and what I really admired about that performance was through the start of the first period, he actually was off the mark with some of his passes. And what you look for with a young player in a situation like that is, do they start to lose their confidence? Do they start to compound mistakes? That's a huge thing that JT Miller, for example, I remember talking to him about. When you're a young player developing and trying to stick consistently in the NHL and find success, what's one of the biggest challenges? He would often say that when you make one or two mistakes, it can be hard to prevent that from snowballing. And there were at least two or three plays where at the offensive blue line, Ratu was trying to make an entry, or in the defensive zone, he was trying to make a breakout pass. And they weren't glaring turnovers, but he just missed the mark with his passing. And he didn't let it deter him at all. And as the game went on, he started to drive play. He started to dominate and kind of take over from a two-way perspective. So I love seeing that element too, is just the resilience to stick with it and have a really strong performance despite a shaky first 10 minutes.
Yeah. And to me, the reason I say he made the team that game is because after his first really strong game, the thing you and I were saying was, and everybody was saying this, but what we were talking about was, you have to do it more than once. Like, you have to have another phenomenal preseason game. And there was one in between that where he wasn't necessarily phenomenal, but another thing that you're looking for at the NHL level is, what's your baseline? Like, I'm not saying that's the worst Ratu's ever going to play, but when you're not on your game and you're not the story of the night, are you negatively impacting the team? And I don't think he was in that second game he played. And then obviously that third game he played against Edmonton, that was one, or excuse me, against Calgary, that was one where I looked at him and said, okay, like, that's where he just made the team because he repeated the phenomenal performance. And I think that really mattered for Ratu. So Canucks make some cuts today. Ratu is not among them. We'll keep talking about the games, but let's pull up these cuts here. Technical producer Jacob Lazar pulls up the roster update for us. The Canucks sent down the following players: Phil DiGiuseppe, Nate Smith, Christian Wolanin, and Jiri Patera. Those four all needed waivers, along with, and these guys don't need waivers, Linus Karlsson, Jonathan Lekkerimäki, Ty Mueller, Max Sasson, Christian Felton, Cole McWard, Kirill Kudryavtsev, Elias Pettersson, Nikita Tolopilo. Those guys don't require waivers. Harmon, let's start with the guys who do require waivers, namely PDG. Friend of the show. I told him about Commercial Drive. I still haven't got an update if he went on my recommendation and checked it out, but PDG sent down to Abbotsford. Those guys are going to need waivers. And do you think PDG is going to get claimed? Someone in the chat already, Brian Anderson in the YouTube live chat, the first comment today is, PDG going to get claimed?
I'd be a little bit surprised just because he's older, and sure, he's a fine plug and play option as a 12th, 13th forward. because he's reliable defensively and he has spurts where he forechecks well and does belong in an NHL lineup. But and this is where you and I were chatting just before the show. You were a little bit surprised that he got cut and put on waivers ahead of Nils Aman. I think Nils Aman has a type of profile that would make him much more likely to get claimed off waivers, because Aman is, first of all, a lot younger at 23 years old. And so there's probably perceived upside there. He's also got desirable height at 6'2". So you can also imagine, you can also talk yourself into thinking he's going to continue growing into his frame. Maybe he can learn to become a little bit more physical, play center, which is the more valuable premium position, but can also slot at wing. For those reasons, I think Aman would be much more likely to get claimed off waivers, and I think that's a big part of the equation for why he's still part of this discussion. And we've been spending a lot of time talking about Ratu, and you've said he's made the team. He still technically hasn't made it yet, because with Suter, he wasn't at practice, but they've got 14 forwards. There's still another cut that's going to need to be made. And on merit, Ratu deserves to make the team, but we'll see if the waivers side of it all plays into whether he's actually the final cut or not.
So let's talk about that battle, because you just said it. There's going to be one more cut. It's going to be either Nils Aman, Arshdeep Bains, or Aatu Ratu. That's what it would seem. The Aman thing interests me because we've talked about how his contract isn't necessarily waiver friendly, and you made some good points about upside for sure. But I would think, like, well, first of all, Bains doesn't require waivers, right?
No.
So Bains is probably the guy, but like Aman, let's just go back to the PDG thing, because again, my argument was, well, PDG's played in this team's top 6 last year. What's Nils Aman doing for you? Like, if he's already getting outplayed by Ratu, which I think he has in the preseason, you might be okay putting him on waivers. Again, I think if you can avoid it, you do. So I understand why they went with PDG, but I'd say this last cut is going to be Arshdeep Bains. But it's not like you said, it's not set in stone that Ratu's made the team. In my view, like if I was making the decisions, that Calgary game was enough for me to say, okay, he just made the team.
He deserves to. It'll also just be interesting based off Suter's health and Bluger's now back. So then there's also the debate of, would you rather have Ratu potentially as a 13th forward not playing, or is it better to just let him play top line minutes in Abbotsford? And when you actually need an NHL like a spot in the lineup itself, the top 12 forwards, that maybe that's when you can just call him up and immediately insert him. So a lot will go into it, but there's no doubt that if it was just purely based off merit, that Ratu's played well enough to deserve making the team.
Okay, I want to talk about preseason lines, and we're going to have the preseason lineup debate. I say we push it to the back half of the show. Let's do it in anyone else.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it in anyone else. Other takeaways from the game that I wanted to get in. Against Edmonton, Kevin Lankinen was great. That was his second start. I thought he was seeing the puck really well. I thought his movements were really sharp, really crisp. Again, the rebound control was a problem at the start of his first start that he had as a Canuck. That got better as that game went along. And I think it also got better in this game as well. Really liked what I saw from Kevin Lankinen, just his second start in a Canucks uniform. Again, people are asking the question of who starts on opening night. It's still Archer Shilovs. It's still the guy that brought you within a game of going to the Western Conference Final, a guy that pitched a shutout in the playoffs. That is the guy who is going to start not only your season opener, but your home opener against Calgary Flames on October 9th.
It is noteworthy, though. We should mention, a little bit concerning to see the Flames have some success just spamming point shots, and Shilov still having some trouble with shots from distance.
What did Tocchet say? He was like, yeah, we got to do a better job clearing the goalie's eyes. Shilov should have had more than a couple of those.
But still, like, you're not going to be able to, especially against some of the better teams.
No. That's what I'm saying is that is concerning. That is very concerning. The book is out on Shilovs, but again, I think this is something he's going to be able to adapt to. So we'll see. But right now, Shilovs gets the start. And I said it earlier too, and I haven't changed my stance. It's going to be a split. Like, I think it's going to be a straight 50-50 split to start the season. I don't think it's going to be I was getting pushback on that. Not from you, I don't think, but the idea that it was going to be a split, I'm still saying it's going to be a straight 50-50 split between the two goaltenders to start the year. Anything else that you wanted to get to from the game? Like, we have Jeff just waiting in the wings.
Let's just get to Jeff.
Jeff Paterson is brought to you by nobody. Jeff's just brought to us today. We appreciate it.
Smooth
Jeff, what kind of
operator
car you
quads.
drive? No, we won't do that.
Brought to you by Black Sweaters, I think, is the sponsor of today's program. I'm dressed like quads, which is not a bad thing necessarily, although be careful, Dave, when you have a black curtain behind you as a backdrop, a black sweater may not be the best outfit. Harm popping off as he so often does. Doesn't matter what the backdrop is for Harm. Looks like $1 million.
This is green. Like,
Oh,
this is
I'll get
supposed to
my
be
eyes
green.
checked. Okay.
Dark green. But you can't see it. You
It's
can't see it.
very dark green.
Very
a
dark
backdrop
green.
like this, sparing no expense. Look at the backdrop here.
Yeah, let's get a green screen, Jacob. Put it on the
Actually,
list.
We have
List
a
of
green
things we
screen
need.
in the back. I don't know if you knew that, but we could absolutely put a green screen behind you guys if you want.
This isn't a green screen, by the way. This is I am at Rogers Arena. That is the Jumbotron.
It's a good looking green screen you got there, Jeff. Okay, so you're
If
at
I was
Rogers
doing green
Arena?
screen, I'm one of the. I would do like a tropical island. If I was doing green screen, I'd be coming to you from somewhere in the South Pacific. But I am here at Rogers Arena after Canucks practice.
You're here at Rogers Arena, Canucks practice. What did you see there? We saw power play lines. Let's start there, Jeff, because something that we're going to disagree about on today's show, Harmon and I, is preseason line combinations. And you even wrote about this at Canucks Army as well, that it was time for the Canucks to get their power play units together. They'll get one preseason game, but they are going to get a few practice days, the first of which was today. What did you see of the Canucks' first power play unit?
Well, they didn't officially do power play drills at the end, and you guys have seen this from time to time. The power play guys haven't been together on the ice very much. They just wanted to get after it, and so it was sort of an ad hoc kind of thing. And Jake DeBrusk was the guy that was in the bumper. So that was great. I wanted to see what Power Play 2 might look like, because I think there's really some curiosity there and some options. And yet they didn't do Power Play 2. Power Play 2 they didn't run through Power Play 2 drills. So part of that was because Daniel Sprong was at the other end of the ice having one of those heart-to-hearts with Rick Tocchet that we have seen an awful lot through the years. So Sprong, who I think would be on the second unit, wasn't available. So it was just a sort of tail end of practice. But what I thought was interesting, because I asked Rick Tocchet about in Penticton, he said, like, we want to get a jump on other teams. We want to get to work early on our power play. And they really haven't done much of that. He did say that even though the groups haven't been together and JT hasn't played a game and Quinn's only played one, they've been doing film work with Yogi Svevkovsky, the new assistant coach who's going to be in charge of the power play. They've been working on video, bouncing ideas off each other. So it hasn't been a complete afterthought. It's just that we haven't seen the game group together. Look, the power play deserted them down the stretch and certainly into the playoffs. They do need to be better on that power play, particularly the first unit. So that's been one of the surprises. And you're right. I wrote about that. I said it should be time to get after it with the 2 games to go. Obviously, we saw the lineup they sent to Edmonton last night. So there's one dress rehearsal. Who knows how many power plays they'll get in that game, but it is something to watch to see if they're on top of things when the season opens on October 9th, or if it takes them a little time to rediscover the good stuff for the power play because they didn't have it for the final 25 games or through the playoffs last year.
Archie Bains was taking rushes on the 4th line. Were you surprised at all that he made it over Phil DiGiuseppe, at least to this point? And what have you seen overall from him in camp and preseason?
Yeah, scored a nice goal last night on the power play. I don't think he's going to be a power play guy at this stage of his career, but he works hard. And I think he's done his fair share of winning battles. So this is a guy that's never taken no for an answer and worked his way up from, a big scorer in the Western League. People know the story, obviously, through the AHL and getting a taste twice last year in the National Hockey League. The goals are great. I don't think that they're going to be the separator for him, though. Was I a little surprised? Yeah. Look, Rick Tocchet talked about how difficult it was. He's got a ton of time for Phil DiGiuseppe. We've seen that. Phil DiGiuseppe is just a true pro, low-maintenance guy that shows up and works hard and played up in the top 6 for Tocchet at times. And so he said it was difficult, but he said it also speaks to organizational depth, and Archie Bains is part of that. Tocchet himself said, when I got here, these weren't even decisions we had to make because we didn't have guys down on the farm. So he said it does show how far the organization has come in terms of bringing in depth guys that are pushing from below. And whether that's Archie Bains or Aatu Räty, Linus Karlsson, who showed reasonably well earlier, but he was among this wave. Lekkerimäki, at some point sooner rather than later, he's going to be up with the big team. So, yeah, I think that's good from an organizational standpoint that they have to make some of these decisions, but you feel for a guy like Phil DiGiuseppe, who, again, just shows up and does what the organization asks of him And for his role, it's fine. I mean, he's a fringe National Hockey Leaguer. I don't think he'll get claimed due to his age, because I think most organizations have a Phil Giuseppe of their own already in their system. But if there's a team that wants a penalty killer and a fourth line guy that's just going to show up and play hard, then maybe he'll get some looks. But for Arshdeep, it's one less guy now to climb over, and to make this round of cuts, I think shows how high the organization is on him. Again, we saw him in his 2 call-ups last year. I still think that his NHL debut, the game in Colorado, was probably the best start to finish that he has played. And maybe that was him on adrenaline and just, getting that opportunity and wanting to make the most of it. The second call-up, there wasn't as much there in his game. He took penalties. So if he can clean some things up, I think he'll play games for the Vancouver Canucks. I'm not convinced that he's going to make it over the final hurdle here when they set their roster. And I think something that we have to keep in mind here, guys, is salary cap implications. Akito Hirose is injured. Rick Tocchet dropped the C-word concussion. Hirose wasn't going to make the big league roster, but he was hurt in camp here. You can't send him down if he's injured. So let's see where that goes with Akito Hirose, because that could throw a bit of a wrench, I think, into some of their plans as far as salary cap and that type of maneuvering that they're going to have to do. And are they going to keep 23 guys to start the season? They didn't want to start the year in LTIR. Might they start with 21 or 22? If that's the case, then those are jobs that aren't available to some of these guys that are still here battling, whether it's an Arshdeep Bains, whether it's Atu Ratu, Mark Friedman on defense, I think might be living on borrowed time. But if they want to go with 8 defensemen, then maybe he does survive. So we'll see where things go. The final roster hasn't been set, and obviously Pia Suter's uncertainty now, that clouds things a little bit, but there is still a week here before they start playing games that matter.
Jeff, anything else stand out to you at practice? You just gave us so many updates. I don't even know where to go from there. Is there just anything else that stood out, I guess, at practice today?
Sorry, Dave, I missed that question.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Excellent. Anything that stood out to you at practice today? Just like stuff that jumps off the page at you.
Yeah, JT Miller was flying. He was out here, and he was asked a couple of times afterwards what's going on, but he copped to the fact that he has been dealing with something at the very least. It hasn't prevented him from skating with the non-game groups. He's been practicing. Said he hadn't taken a day off, but he just said it was common sense that playing a game might put him in harm's way, and we've seen what's happened around the National Hockey League here in the preseason with Drew Doughty and Patrik Laine and some others. And he just said it was the prudent thing to do. So he declared that he will play on Friday. He'll play. So, yeah, I mean, he was going full speed here at practice. And, I guess Sprong on the top line, or not the top line, but on the line with Elias Pettersson. That's something we've been waiting to see. Teddy Bluger looks like he's good to go. Didn't talk to him after practice, but centering that third line with Höglander and Garland. And if Suter is out any length of time, then I think Teddy Bluger is going to slide in and perform admirably in that spot. And then, the defense shook down the way that we kind of thought it would, that Hronek and Hughes together leaves some questions about what's beneath those two guys on the depth chart here. But it does look like, in the short term at least, they're going to go with Desharnais and Forbort as the third pair. And Soucy and Myers obviously played a fair bit together last year and through the playoffs. So, yeah, I mean, there weren't any great surprises. I thought it was interesting that Francesco Aquilini came out and sat with Patrick Allvin and Jim Rutherford and watched a good chunk of the practice from the 10th row of the black seats, the good club seats right behind the benches. But, we see the owner from time to time watching practices, but not generally in the preseason. So, the top of the organization was on hand here getting a look at the group that survived this latest round of cuts.
Wanted to get a real close-up look at Atu Ratu.
I was going to say, did the cuts happen before or after that?
No, I think the cuts went down this morning, and then these guys got to work on at noon. It was kind of funny. They were all out on the ice. I tweeted it out, but it was a bit of a laugh. Quinn Hughes was the last guy to make his way out from the locker room, and for a while there, it looked like practice was about to begin without the captain, which would have been noteworthy. And then Quinn sauntered down the tunnel and onto the ice to a bunch of stick taps from his teammates who acknowledged that he made it under the wire because it was a noon practice, and I think he got out there with about 3 minutes to spare. But, it's one of those things that if you're not 5 minutes early, you're late in pro sports. Practice went ahead, and Quinn was a full participant, but teammates giving him the gears there with a little stick tap as he was the last participant to make his way onto the ice.
Jonathan Lekkerimäki was among the players sent down to Abbotsford as well. I don't think there's any real surprises there because he looked decent in camp and at times in preseason, but it'll be good for him to spend some time developing down there in Abbotsford and playing a big role. Overall, when you look at this, was probably our first real look at Lekkerimäki for an extended stretch in North America as far as training camp and preseason. What did you learn about his skill set, his potential readiness down the road? What were your just overall takeaways of having this opportunity to watch Lekkerimäki closely over the last 2-3 weeks?
Yeah, that I think he's probably closer than I thought he was. I kind of figured that he would need a full season in the American Hockey League, and after watching him in Penticton and then putting him in a position to succeed with top line guys from day one of camp, and I like that from the organization. The shot is undeniable, and we saw it through camp. You were there. Into the preseason, he certainly had moments. The goal, he'll take it, but that was a fluke. Let's be honest, up and over and into that the other night in Calgary, but they do all count. What I like is even last night in Edmonton, where they were undermanned by far. He's a volume shooter, and he leads the team with 4 shots on goal. Now, he didn't look all that dangerous on his 4 shots, but I want to see him with the puck in the offensive zone. And if he's getting 4 shots on goal a night, I like his chances of making some things happen as the season rolls along. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he looks like in Abbotsford. I assume that he'll be a top line guy and a power play guy there. And they just have to, he has to keep pushing and make it to the point where the organization can't deny him to bring him up and give him a look. But right now, he didn't make the grade here, and I'm not surprised by that, and that's not a knock on him. I don't think anybody should look at it that way. Young player, first full season in North America. Take everything from these experiences here through training camp and the preseason and apply them now. I think Abbotsford's starting its training camp tomorrow. So, he's an American Hockey Leaguer. Be the best American Hockey Leaguer possible, and his time will come. It'll probably come sooner rather than later. But it was some of those things away from the puck, defensive zone coverage. Even last night on the Corey Perry goal, I think he lost his man briefly. And at the NHL level, if that happens, more often than not, bad things are going to occur for your team. So overall, I think it was a success. I think he checked a lot of the boxes that the Canucks wanted to see from him. And he's going to be a big part of what they've got here moving forward. But it's just not going to happen for him at the NHL level out of training camp. And again, I think it's important to stress that this shouldn't be seen as any sort of failure or disappointment. This is where he needs to be right here, right now. When I say here, I mean the American Hockey League, because I'm here at Rogers Arena and he isn't anymore. So that could get a little confusing.
There he is, Jeff Paterson from Rogers Arena, in case you didn't know. Jeff, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll chat with you every Tuesday. Excited to work with you all season long.
Looking forward to it. This time next week, we'll be on the eve of the regular season. There'll be games because the season starts over in Europe. So, bring it on. It'll be fun to be with you guys on a weekly basis here on The Convo.
There he is, Jeff Paterson. Rinkwide's Jeff Paterson, which we should have said earlier. We didn't, but first episode of Rinkwide went last night. Jacob, how'd that go? First episode of Rinkwide, I was watching. It sounded great.
Yeah, there was a couple little hiccups here and there, but for the most part, it was good to get back into it. Jeff and Irf, their chemistry picked up pretty quickly, and Jeff's always critical, but I thought they put forward a great show, and we'll be live here on out. We've got a show Friday, and then all 82 regular season games, Rinkwide live on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, wherever you want. Make sure you guys tune in. Really, like Jeff, Irf, Farhan's gonna co-host from time to time. Both you guys, I think, will make some appearances throughout the year. So absolutely, we want all the Canucks Convo listeners getting over to Rinkwide.
And there was a lot in the YouTube section last night. And it's like I tweeted it out. It's the post-game show where the hosts actually say everybody's name correctly. It's a good one. It's a good one. Check it out. Rinkwide, Vancouver. Okay, Harm, we still have a very busy show today. And I don't know, the longer this episode's gone on, the less passionate I've become about this great preseason lineup debate. Because you saw my notes. I was writing an essay last night. Like, I was so fired up about this last night. I tweeted about it yesterday. And, now that there's been a practice and now that you don't have another preseason game until Friday, the less passionate I've become about it, but I'm still going to talk about it. So let's get to our poll question. Let's get to our poll question right now. Let's just pull it up because it's going to kind of segue into what I want to talk about. Our poll question: do you agree with the Canucks' decision to not ice a regular lineup through 5 preseason games? 78.2% say yes. 21.8%, which I'm a part of the minority here, say no. And I tweeted about it yesterday. I put out this innocuous tweet. This little tweet here, for the record, I think it's a bad idea that the Canucks haven't come close to icing a proper lineup with just one more preseason game to go after this one. It just feels needlessly risky to have all these new faces with no real chance to build chemistry together. Then I followed it up and said, counterpoint, Patrik Laine, you can throw Drew Doughty in that conversation. That feels needlessly risky. But at the same time, I'm sitting there watching, and really this wasn't so much about 5-on-5 units, right? It does extend to the defense a little bit, though. How are you feeling about Derek Forbort? What have you seen from Derek Forbort that gets you fired up this offseason or this preseason?
I mean, he's got years of NHL experience. Do you think he needs
to play with his defense partner? Yep, I do.
Well, yeah, he will.
Well, who's he playing with last night?
He's got one preseason game
one
to do it.
One preseason game? That's enough?
Yeah, it is.
And practice?
Okay.
I just disagree.
How many games did Quinn Hughes and Philip Hronek play together in preseason last year? 0.
They played at least one.
Cole McWard and Quinn Hughes played together.
It wasn't every
preseason game.
No.
Are
you sure?
I'm like 80 to 90% sure.
Chat, check that. Chat, we're gonna have to
because remember McWard initially made the roster.
Yes.
Or either that or like was right.
Until
the start of
right
the
when the
season.
cuts that just happened today, when those happened, McWard was still here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he didn't make the roster, and he didn't I don't.
But the point is, they didn't. Hughes and Hronek had never really played together in camp preseason. Guess what? They start together when the regular season games actually count, and they take off running.
Okay, but you're using the Norris Trophy winner and the Canucks' second best defenseman as the example. I don't think it's crazy to say Vincent Desharnais and Derek Forbort need at least 2 games together. They're going to get one
extra preseason game is not going to be the difference between whether they excel or not.
October 9th, see how many goals.
And also, how many, look around the league. It's not uncommon for teams to ice. You want to know the Ducks roster last night? Let me show you the Ducks.
Tell me. I have no idea.
Lines. First of all, none of the forward lines or defense pairs that they're actually going to roll out. Vetrano, Zegras, Leeson, that's not even going to be a line because Zegras is probably going to play wing because McTavish and Carlson are playing center. McGinn, Lundestrom, Strome. Again, that's not.
I don't know any of these names, but this could
be
the
bottom
Ducks
6
roster.
guys are all AHL/prospect guys, and then their D pairs. They have a few NHL guys, but they're not playing with who they're actually going to line up with on opening night. Zellweger's not playing with Drew Helleson.
Okay, now find me another example that isn't the Ducks.
Why don't you find me more examples of your
Edmonton?
case?
Edmonton
did not. Last night was the first time Leon Draisaitl needs to gel with 2 new line mates. Last night was the first preseason game that he's played with Skinner and Arvidsson.
Okay, Elias Pettersson, Jake DeBrusk, Daniel Sprong. Daniel Sprong's one line mate, sure, but it's a pretty pivotal part of your team. I would have liked to see them get more than one game. That's what I'm saying. And not only that, here's the other thing, Harm. Here's the thing that matters more than 5-on-5 lines. I started with the 5-on-5 lines, but the big thing to me is the power play. The power play has not gotten a look together. They were together. We talked about it with Jeff. They were together at practice today, but you cannot tell me that this power play that was such a problem down the stretch for this team went from being a strength to an absolute weakness, bailed on them in the playoffs. You cannot tell me that it's fine that they aren't getting any preseason looks together. They'll get the game against Edmonton on Friday. They'll get that game, the 5 of them together, and we saw the unit today. They'll get that game together, but you don't know if you're going to get any power plays in that game. So then the first time that they're going to get game action together is going to be opening night. Maybe, again, if you get a power play. You're comfortable with that?
Well, okay. Did you want JT Miller to play banged up?
No, that's my point is, okay, if JT Miller's hurt, let's say.
So then what were they supposed to do with the power play? Miller, the power play runs through Miller.
So put whoever is, if Miller was out game 1 of the regular season, they're not just going to say, oh, well, we're going to throw Mark Friedman and Phil DiGiuseppe out there.
You're not getting, okay, if you wanted you wanted Pedersen, Hughes, Besser, DeBrusk on a unit together last night.
Yep.
And
which is what I wanted.
Insert your 5th guy like Garland. That's just not the same power play because the power play with Miller runs through JT. He's he's the guy that has the most puck touches.
I'm sorry, what are we talking? So if Miller's out at any point this season, are they going to pass on power plays?
All I'm saying is you're not losing anything by against
You
Edmonton.
You
the
are.
penultimate game that
you
you're
are
not
putting a new guy in a pivotal spot in Jake DeBrusk.
This doesn't
and
matter.
Putting him in the bumper spot.
This
It does
not
matter. It does matter.
This does not matter.
I hope I'm wrong.
And I'm not even predicting that the power play is going to hit the ground running necessarily at the start of the regular season. All I'm saying is the difference between the power play clicking and not clicking isn't going to be one extra preseason game. Preseason is not real NHL caliber hockey.
They're going to get practice.
Preseason is for fringe. Preseason is for fringe roster players to make their case.
The real
to
takeaway
make
here,
the team or not.
the real takeaway here is that the preseason is just too damn long. Like it's so long and it shouldn't
Deflecting because you lost this.
Oh no, lost
debate.
Lost. We'll see. But this debate will get settled when we see the opening night. And
I mean, we already saw the poll question. Again, I made no predictions
Look,
about
just
whether
because you're
the
in the
power play
majority
is
doesn't mean you've
if
won.
the power play struggles at the start of the season, you cannot make the claim that it's because they didn't have one extra preseason game.
It's not because of that.
They have a whole week to practice a power play now too.
Practice against Derek Forbert.
So you wanted some mismatch first unit.
I wanted to see them get out there with who
wasn't actually going to be on
would
the
be
ice for opening night.
If Garland was the guy that comes in, if Miller's
I don't
hurt,
think you're gaining much if you don't have your.
I
full
think
five.
you're gaining
it's either
much.
your full five or like it doesn't
well,
matter.
Here to your point, 4 of those guys have played together for like 3-4 years, right?
Yeah.
So they know each other. You don't know Jake DeBrusk. That's the guy you've got to get reps in that bumper spot. Jake DeBrusk didn't even play the bumper in the preseason, and now he's going to be there in PP1. Come on.
One again.
Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it doesn't matter, but it might. And I'm just saying, get rid of that possibility by giving them at least a couple games together. Look, Edmonton last night, they had their main guys out there except for Evan Bouchard.
They also didn't have Zach Hyman.
Okay, him too.
So they have 3 of their 5.
3 of their 5. Like you've still got McDavid, you've still got Draisaitl in the same game. I know Miller's banged up, so we're dealing with that, and it's a little bit different out here. I just kept looking at the lineup, and especially last night's game, and just said, like, get some more NHL guys in the lineup. And that was my take last night. Again,
and to be clear, the power play is like a main sort of like question mark. For sure it is. I'm not saying I'm not concerned about the power play that I'm 100% confident that it's going to hit the ground running. I'm just saying that it's not a big deal that we're not seeing them together until this week for a full week of practices and then for the final preseason game. I don't think that game against Edmonton makes or breaks whether the first unit has success starting opening night.
You might be right. But I still want to see some NHL caliber play. Like, I still want to see some guys in the lineup. And again, they made their cuts today. So we know that this final game, thank God, is going to be actual NHL guys. And it's going to be that final audition for those 3 final spots. Did we see PP2 at practice today? Were you at practice?
I wasn't at practice.
I wasn't at practice either. Doesn't matter. It's okay. We saw PP1. We know what PP1 is going to be. And we've got 3 days in between games. This preseason is so damn long. Not only do the Canucks have 4 games and 5 nights last week, now they've got 3 days off in between games. That's just so weird for the players to like start, stop. It's just, yeah. Anyways. So yeah, Chad is asking why we're talking about practice as much. Game action, folks. Get them in game action. Chat does agree with you mostly, but they also agree with you that Linus Karlsson was going to get PP1 time, and that didn't happen.
Hey, who got cut first, Blair or Karlsson? Tell me, Quads. Your inside track on the 13th.
That one hurts my brand. That one hurts my brand. When that came out, I was just like, I wasn't surprised. He was bad. Like, he was legit bad in the preseason. And we talked about this right before the show went to air. Now he's going to Abbotsford. He's going to be in the AHL this year, unless a team gives him an NHL contract. That's how this works.
So.
Is a chance. I can't see an NHL team. I don't know. Maybe like, I wonder if that would have worked if we were just like, you know what? Let's see. Curtis Klein. Boom. Curtis Klein. You see that? Facebook chat. I agree with Quads today.
I put that up at most of the YouTube chats with Harmon, I think. So.
Thanks, Jacob.
What was I talking about before I got
Blay.
distracted there? Yeah, he was not good in the preseason. He's going to go down to the AHL. Don't think he's going to get a contract. And what I was saying was, what if we just came on this show every day and we were like, oh, Sammy Blais, you notice him? He was great. If an NHL team would have caught notice and been like, yeah, we're going to give a contract to Sammy Blais. These guys are saying he's great. Wonder if that would have worked.
I don't think NHL GMs are just casually listening
You'd be
to Canucks
surprised.
Convo.
You'd be surprised. Okay. Chef Quad's taking body shots. Yeah, this one was a tough one for me. But I don't know. I wanted the power play to get some reps together, and it's like I tweeted it last night too. You get a power play. Oh boy, here comes Mark Friedman.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie.
It's over the boards.
It's one of my biggest arguments for preseason being too long is the amount of time I've had to watch Noah Juleson on the power play. Like it's like no, just a great
from the point, baby.
Great penalty killer, warrior guy, but yeah, you're right.
Did you beaver tailing last night? Did you see the beaver tail? He wanted that puck. Demand the puck.
Yeah, it went on way too
Counterpoint, I like seeing Noah Juleson on the power play.
Of course you do.
So tough to say. Maybe you were right about this one. More Noah Juleson power play time is a good thing. Okay. Let's get to anyone else because the chat's already. Let's talk about other stuff in the chat. Let's get to anyone else, which is brought to you by our friends over at the Vancouver Canadians. The Seas thank fans for another great season at the Nat this summer. If you're looking to guarantee your seat for all the action in 2025, please visit CanadiansBaseball.com or call 604-872-5232. Let's see what the chat's saying. I'm sure it's going to be all power play stuff right now. Robbie B, it probably doesn't matter. He's probably right about this. Grim Studio, Quads wants Miller to get the Line A treatment. Let's talk about that. That's actually something I had for anyone else, is just what we've actually seen this preseason. I want to talk about the Jeremy Swayman stuff in Boston as well. Like, I feel like that's the biggest story around the league right now. But the injuries that we've seen in preseason, how many guys have gone down? I mean, Nylander got stabbed in the back by what's that guy's name? Nick Robertson.
Yeah.
Well, Bobby McMahon moment there. He got pushed in the back and sent down. He's fine, right?
Ryan Lindgren got hurt in a fight.
Yes.
Preseason. He'll miss, I think, 2 or 3 weeks.
Doughty's out months.
Yeah.
Doughty's out months. Line A. What happened to Line A? Did they say it today? There was an update about a Habs player.
He's
today.
been in crutches. That was Reinbacher. They lost him too.
Friend of the show, David Reinbacher. Did you know he was on Canucks
didn't know.
Convo? Yeah, David Reinbacher's been on Canucks Convo. Great
tough
kid.
day for Canucks.
Dude, it is a tough day for Canucks Convo.
Oh, Rathbone was on waivers today.
No. What's Adam Gaudette up to? That was the original friend of the show, Adam Gaudette.
I think he's still gonna be in the AHL, like tearing up the league in points.
How about what's that kid's name? He's been on the show so many. Aiden McDonough. He's been on the show like 7 times. I don't think he's cracking the Panthers.
Almost certainly not.
Remember when Adam Gaudette mania was taking over this city? Anyways,
I just Googled Aiden McDonough, and like in the Google box where you get all that info at the top, there's literally him on Canucks Convo, like
yes,
showing up right near the top of the Google results. So there you go, true friend of the show.
Yes, awesome. Okay, people said there's more higher in the chat. People are asking why I'm dumping on Derek Forbert. I don't know. It just hasn't impressed me much in the preseason. And again, he's an NHL vet. He's going to show his value on the PK. I get all that. I am still a little bit like, okay, it's not even like, oh, I'm worried because I think he's bad. It's just, okay, I don't know what to expect from you at 5-on-5 because I haven't really seen much.
He's played the first one for sure against Seattle.
Yep.
I remember that. And then he'll get another one in the final one.
And this is a guy who has dealt with injuries. So if there's a case for a guy not to go 100% in the preseason, I get it.
Although, yeah, I mean, I understand the concern around Forbert and Desharnais. Are they going to be too slow as a defense pair? How are they going to move the puck? But that wasn't going to get solved with an extra preseason game. That's an independent.
Here's one for you. Do you want to talk about Elias Pettersson's preseason?
No, I don't. I really don't.
You don't want to?
No.
Okay. Harmon doesn't want to talk about it.
Do you really want to talk about this?
No, not that badly. Just thought you might want to.
Preseason doesn't matter.
See if anybody in the chat wants to talk about it. We'll see. Maybe I am putting a little too much into all of these preseason. Curtis Klein. Oh no, I already read that one. tried to read the same comment.
Oh, there's a second person that thinks I'm right.
Guy that said I agree with quads, but it's the same guy. Curtis, that's my man right there. This one from Joshua Telford. Can we talk about another B-level prospect that made some strides and made some guys that didn't like Josh Bloom, another friend of the show, he's got to have a big year in Abbotsford, right? Like he's a guy that I'm looking at where there's a baseline level of what he's able to do. And again, we know he's going to be a good penalty killer, all that sort of stuff. Nice to do it. Like I don't want to see him in the ECHL. I want to see him excel in the AHL. If he's going to be anything, he's going to have to play well in the AHL this year.
Yeah, it was a little bit disappointing. I think he spent most of the young stars on the fourth line, didn't make much of an impression. So I'm going to be honest, my expectations aren't very high for him as far as being an impactful player down in Abbotsford, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm trying to read up on all the comments here. There's a lot, but there was one thing with before Swayman, I had something that I wanted to get to. I can't remember. Maybe it'll come back to me.
I remember you were mid-thought about Line A or something. Did you have an actual point that you wanted to make?
No, just so much like it's really bad luck. Like it's really bad luck. The Habs season, not over, but it really sucks for the Habs that Line A. Like I was excited to watch Patrik Line A. I really was.
Yeah.
And
that was a big acquisition for them. I was really excited to see him play.
And think about like Kirby Dach getting hurt in the second or third game of the season and missing the whole year for them last year, right? Like they've had some exciting players, especially forwards, go through Montreal that just have had absolutely devastating injuries at just the worst possible time.
I still can't get over Reinbacher. That sucks. Like,
yeah, and that's a huge one too. Like, you know, that's a top 5 pick who was expected to be an NHL regular this year, and now he's out for basically the whole year.
I just decided that tomorrow's gonna be our season predictions show, so get ready for that.
What season predictions?
We're gonna predict major awards. Calder go to Matt Mitchkov, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we agree on that one. Do you want us to do it right now? No, we'll do it tomorrow.
No.
We'll do it tomorrow. Season predictions. We'll do Pacific Division standings, Western Conference standings, Stanley Cup winner, and we'll write it down this time and actually go back and look at them at the end of the year.
Sure.
Season predictions episode of Canucks Convo tomorrow. Okay, the Jeremy Swayman situation, this one in Boston. I wrote about this yesterday. I do not like what Cam Neely did yesterday. Coming out and saying the 64 million reasons thing, and then the agent coming out. And you don't know who to believe, but I'm of the opinion that if you're going to make negotiations public, do it through Frank Saravalli or do it through Elliot Friedman.
Well, okay, hold on.
What do you mean no?
First of all, I think that I find it really hard to believe that Cam Neely would go up there and say that publicly if that wasn't true, as far as them actually tendering that offer. I think it's much more likely that the agent is trying to cover his tracks using semantics than the other way around. Secondly, if you just leak that, oh, this was the offer, then you still don't, it doesn't resonate the same way as the organization actually coming out and saying $64 million. And also, if that's true, that the Bruins made an 8x8 offer, Swayman should take that 100%.
Here's the thing.
That's a very fair offer.
When that came out, and I wrote about this, I didn't like it from Cam Neely. Like I didn't like it from Cam Neely. I still don't. You're not going to convince me otherwise. Also, Frank Saravalli reported today too that the actual offer was slightly below that at $62.4 million. So maybe Neely heard the 4, got rid of the 2, $64 million. It's close, but again,
yeah. Okay,
if by 7.8,
if 8x8 wasn't the actual offer, if it was 7x8, you shouldn't say that. But if it was true that it was an 8x8, I have no problem with him going public with that.
Sure, I agree with you. I'm of the opinion that didn't happen.
Fair.
From Boston's perspective, though, that's a crazy overpay. Like, I'm sure he could get that on the market, but if you're Boston, first of all, you have to be pretty comfortable that you've developed goaltenders, right? That you made Linus Ullmark great. You've made Jeremy Swayman great. They don't have much in the pipeline. Mikey DiPietro's there, opening the season as their backup, it looks like.
No, he's not.
Isn't he? Who's their back? It's
Brandon Bussey.
Such a great name. I laugh every time I hear it. It can't be him.
He's been really good in the American League.
I know, but I'm gonna laugh every time I hear his name.
Okay.
So okay. Anyways. What's his name?
No,
say it again. Say it again. My neck,
make your
my
point.
back.
Absolutely not, Quads.
Okay.
It's a family-friendly program.
The Swayman thing, though, it seems like a bad idea from Boston's perspective. Like, I was going back and looking at it. Aside from the fact that he split starts with Ullmark, and that was one of hockey's best bromances, all that sort of stuff, he's only been their guy for basically the playoffs, right? Like that's your sample size of Jeremy Swayman being the guy. And I'm not saying he's going to have some miraculous drop off as soon as he's not splitting starts with Allmark or anything like that, but it's also still under 150 games played, a 4th round pick. He's 25 years old. I look at it and say, what did that Demko do to get his 5x5? And what makes Swayman worthy of an 8x8 all of a sudden? I just think it's an overpay. Like, I wouldn't sign that if I was the Boston Bruins.
Yeah,
I'm also like, I like goaltenders, and I talk about goaltenders a lot. I'm of the opinion that you don't sign goalies long term. Anything over 5 years, in my opinion, 6 years is pushing it. You're asking for trouble when you sign a goaltender to that.
Yeah, they're kind of backed into that corner though, right? Because
they backed themselves into it. Yeah,
they don't have Allmark anymore, and to me, Swayman is still, I know he doesn't have a lot of experience as far as being like a workhorse number 1, but he's still easily a top 10 goaltender in the NHL. And the Bruins need good goaltending if they want to be a legit Stanley Cup contender.
Yes, absolutely they do. And it's their only option. It's their only option is basically to cave here. And look, I'm not losing sleep over the Bruins making a bad decision, but I think this is going to be a bad decision. Like, I think, first of all, they fumbled this whole situation, but it feels like a lot of people right now, the discourse is, well, they fumbled it, so now they have to sign Swayman, and that'll make everything better. No, they fumbled it in a manner which now they have to pay Swayman exactly what he's asking for. Maybe they'll come a little bit under, whatever. But like I said, anything over 6 years feels like a mistake.
Yeah, I don't think Swayman's ask should be...
It's 8x8.5, according to Saravalli. Too much.
I think he's overvaluing himself there.
Yeah.
And maybe it works. Maybe he gets his bag, but he's also going to, if he signs that type of contract, put a tremendous amount of pressure on himself.
Especially in Boston.
In that market.
Yeah. And that's, again, that contract, an 8x8, makes him the 5th highest paid goalie in the league. That puts him in a tier with Connor Hellebuyck, Sergei Bobrovsky, Andrei Vasilevsky, and Ilya Sorokin is the 4th there. And then he would be the 5th. Is Jeremy Swayman a top 5 goalie in the NHL?
Not quite there yet.
And it's not one of these situations where it's like, yeah, we think
Saros
he's going to... Of course, absolutely. I take a few guys over him. And it's not one of these situations where you're thinking, we're going to sign him because we think he's going to grow into this. That's not what's happening here. So I'm not losing sleep over it, and maybe we spent too much time talking about it.
He's only 25, though, so they may think that he can grow to that level.
Okay. Yeah. Fair.
Bye. It's not out of the equation, but there's just no guarantee that he's...
I don't think the sample size is large enough for me to be comfortable giving
fair enough
$64 million out. Okay, I disagree with this one from Curtis McConaughey in the chat. He said Swayman ain't top 15.
No.
I don't know about that. Yeah, and Mike Rogerson in the chat. Goalies should only get 3 to 4 years if they want that much AAV. I agree. I absolutely agree. I don't hand out terms to your goalies. Don't hand out terms. Term, singular, not terms. But anyways, yeah. Anything else that you wanted to get to?
Nope.
I had one more thing. I can't believe I can't remember it. This is why I write everything down. But I feel like I wrote so much about the preseason lines that I wasn't sure what I wanted to talk about at the end. Oh yeah. No, never mind. Save it for tomorrow. Yeah, we got a big show tomorrow. But before we close up today's show, I wanted to tell you about the Amazing Vancouver Run from the Social Run Club. We're hosting a station at the Amazing Vancouver Run. It's going to be a ton of fun, and it's a great way to get out and explore the city. There are over $10,000 in prizes, including some great stuff from us here at Canucks Army. Here's how it works. Find a partner and register. Show up on October 6th. Go between 20-plus stations all around downtown Vancouver, complete challenges to win raffle prizes, and it all takes place on Sunday, October 6th from 9 a.m. to noon in downtown Vancouver. For more details, visit the link in today's show description. I'll tell you, Faber and I hosted a station 2 years ago, and we had a Yaletown station. This year, I think we're going to do it here right outside the studio. But 2 years ago, Faber and I did it at this like dog cafe in Yaletown. Have you heard of this place?
No.
I don't know what it's called. And I always say no free ads, but this place was so fun. I wish I remembered the name, but it was like a dog cafe in Yaletown. And that was kind of their theme, was they had stuff for dogs and the dogs were off leash and stuff. And we were right beside it. And this dog came up to us. This dog named Mike came up to us, and he was a blue Cavapoo. And as you know, I have a Cavapoo now. So 2 years ago, this dog came up to us, And I took a video of it and I sent it to my friend and I said, hey, do you know what kind of dog this is? Like, he was awesome. Like, he was off leash, you know, in Yaletown, and he's running around and he was so well behaved. He was great. Like, he came up to us and we were just petting him and he was hanging out with us. And his owner was in the dog cafe next door. And he was like, oh, I think it's a Cavapoo. So then I Googled what a Cavapoo is and I was like, I want one. And then I got one. And I kid you not, that's how I decided what kind of dog I was getting.
That's so funny.
Was the dog named Mike on the Vancouver Run Club 2022.
Great story.
And then I got Bert. So if you want to make some great mistakes, no, I'm just joking. Yeah, if you want to participate, though, it is a ton of fun. Check it out. Social Run Club, amazing Vancouver run is what it's called. It was a ton of fun. 9 a.m. to noon, downtown Vancouver. Like I said, link is in the show description.
Yes, it wasn't at the beginning. I just put it in now. So it's in the YouTube description and it'll be in the podcast description as well.
Jacob, do we have enough Family Feud answers already?
No, we need a few more. It never got plugged, so we got most of the way there. But yeah, that's also available in the description. If you haven't yet, hop on for Thursday's Family Feud.
All right. Did we miss anything? What happened? How is this show so short today? Did we miss anything? I had so much to say.
It's 52 minutes long right now.
Oh, wow. I need to get my eyes checked. I thought that said 40. Okay. We'll close it out there. Oh, no. Bet of the day. Wow. I'm all over the place today. I'll tell you, I was a little rattled because I had so much to talk about with the
looking like Sammy Blaine preseason.
He was pretty bad, eh? Okay. I'll give you one. Wow, you can get this. Wow. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money, folks. But if you want to take part in our Bet365 bet of the day, here it is for you. Right now, playoff baseball is taking place. You can get the Atlanta Braves to win Game 1 against my San Diego Padres at plus 155 odds. You can get the Braves to beat the Padres in Game 1. Michael King on the bump for the Padres and Smith Shawver on the bump for the Braves. I'm taking the Braves plus 155 odds. That was our bet of the day, brought to you by Bet365, a proud partner of Canucks Conversation. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets, whatever the sport, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Be sure to use code VANBONUS when you sign up for an account. Okay, season predictions episode tomorrow. I just can't get enough of talking about the preseason. Man, I'm off today. I really am off today. I apologize for that, folks. I'll be back tomorrow. Season predictions episode tomorrow, and then Family Feud on Thursday. So fill out that survey. Friday, back at it with one more preseason games, which we can read a lot into, of course, and we'll talk a lot about on Friday. Luca OC in the chat. Watching in 2 times speed, trying to catch up. Quads in double speed is insane. I like that. I like being insane in double speed. We'll wrap it up there for my co-host, Harman Dial.
Normal speed, too.
And our technical producer, Jacob Azar. My name is Dave Gujalli. Thank you so much for listening to the episode of the Canucks Conversation. Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.